everyone. Welcome to another episode of
Absolute Game of Nerd!
All right, we are here for our final review of House of the Dragon Season 2, which is sad in its own right. But Mike is back here with me today. Mike, what's up? How's it going?
Going good. I am excited to have this conversation because I have a lot to talk about. So
yeah.
Do you, sir?
So Mike and I have not discussed the finale. He was actually on vacation. Otherwise, we would have really discussed it a little bit. But we have not spoken at all about the finale, and we're here going to do it all on air. So Mike, let's start high level. Give it to me. What do you got?
I have 4 words. Great episode, terrible finale.
There you go. I mean, I'll actually, just to respond off of that, I do think, especially after I've like watched and taken some time to think, there are great points or great moments, great scenes. Absolutely. I actually think it's I agree, it's a poor finale. I think there's almost no one that can question that. I would actually say it's my most disappointing episode, I would say, of both the first 2 seasons.
Wow.
And I just thought like there was a lot of great seasons. We're gonna obviously get into that, but I also thought there was just a lot of like non-important stuff that they really wasted our time on. Like, first and foremost, and like, man, I was kind of rubbed the wrong way right out the gate when they opened up in Tyrosh or whichever one of the Triarchy cities it was. And like, you kind of starts like, like, we don't really need, I personally don't think we need to see the details of what Tywin Lannister is doing. Like, when the Triarchy are needed, if they show up and Tywin Lannister's on the boat, blah, blah, like, great. Like, that's just he was successful in his mission. Like that, we don't really know Tywin. We haven't invested in Tywin. Right. And then 2, the moment they're like, you need to ride with our commander, I was like, okay, something fishy's going to happen here. Yeah. And then when it was a woman, I was like, okay, here we go. It's going to be some like situation. There's going to be some sort of awkward sexual advance. And it honestly, like, it kind of reminded me of some of like the gratuitous, like, unnecessary sex that you got with Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And that's just what made it feel like to me. And that kind of right out the gate kind of really, like, I was like, oh man, is this episode gonna like let me down? And like, so like that really kind of ruined my vibe for it right out the gate. And then like at the end, I was like, yeah, it wasn't what I hoped it was for, especially from a finale perspective. Right. Like, I don't know if you've seen that meme, but so many people have been like posting that last shot of the previous episode where Rhaenyra like crests on that hill and then the 3 dragons are up behind her. Like, if that ended, that would have been a dope finale. Like, that's a great end scene. But like everyone says, like, it was essentially a 75-minute trailer for next season.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, this is what I've heard too. Is like, originally this was supposed to be all 10 episode seasons, right? Mm-hmm. Probably 4. By the way, they have confirmed they want to do this in 4 seasons.
Yeah, I saw that too. Right? Yeah.
So that answers that. But originally they wanted 10. HBO, mostly for budgetary reasons, told them to dial back to 8. What it looks like happened, and I don't see any other way I can do the mental gymnastics to figure this out, but they just said, we're not going to redo it then. I think originally this
they wrote it out as 10 and then just end it. And then just
that was in episode 8. That was a whatever, the anti-penultimate episode. We always have setting up. As a setup, it's fantastic. I feel like they just tacked on the montage showing where everyone is because it was a season finale, but otherwise, you could put Tywin Lannister goofing around a little bit to break the tension of what's going on if it's not the last episode, right?
Exactly.
All the things we saw in Harrenhal, yes, it's a whole... I mean, there was a lot that happened this season in terms of character building, which makes sense if there's a payoff. They set up a lot of dominoes to have a big payoff at the end of the season, and now, to pardon the term, it sort of blue-balled us, right? What was supposed to be the end, they just said, okay, that was supposed to be episodes 9 and 10. Episode 9 would have been the big battle. 10 would have been the breath, right? Like most seasons. But they didn't do that. They said, oh, we only have 8 episodes. All right, we're stopping it right there. And it hurts. It hurt the whole season because, as you said, there were a lot of distractions. There were a lot of seeds they planted this season, which never really bared fruit. And it's because we didn't have that resolution. And if it was only a 6-month wait, if it was even only a year wait, sure. But 2 years, and that's what you end with, that's not the right kind of cliffhanger to end with. There was just no exhalation of all the stuff they built up. And it feels like you had the perfect wording of it. It feels like they wasted our time, not just in this episode, but a lot of previous storylines.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I take a perfect example, like with Damon at Harrenhal. Like,
Yeah.
I actually really liked the Weirwood dream
Yeah.
scene, how it like really changed him, and then like you have the scene when Rhaenyra shows up and he bent the knee to her, like based on what he
Yeah.
saw. I thought that whole thing was fantastic.
Yeah.
But that was now 4 episodes long of the acid
More.
that he had at Harrenhal, and it's like
Yeah.
they really shrunk that down and consolidate, and we still would have gotten the same impact.
100%.
And like
100%.
it just made me feel like this should have been a 3-season, 10-episode show, and this is like one of their tricks to help drag out, milk it
Right.
to push it on.
But if they needed more room, this season, they could have They could have cut back on the Harrenhal. They could have cut out Tywin Lannister. I mean, there was a lot of things they could have shortened up, and it would have still worked. They would have had the room, even in 8 episodes, to be able to pull it off. So I just think it was. I think there was some executive decisions I don't think were very good ones. And again, it could have been budgetary, not just the amount of episodes, but just to film that battle that's coming up. The problem is, there's no scenario now where season 3 isn't just constant battling, and it would be a really expensive season anyways. What bothered me is the producer said, I think they said season 3 expected more of the same feeling as season 2, more character, one-on-one character studies and talk, which isn't crazy to me, honestly.
Yeah, and then the other interesting thing too, and there's actually 2 other things that I didn't enjoy that we'll just go into these things now. One, the other thing that they milked, the hell out of was Rhaena getting her dragon in the Vale.
Yeah,
like
running,
I didn't need a scene every 20 minutes of her like freezing, and it's just like we all know where this is going.
It was edited weird. It was intercut in weird spots.
Yeah, and it's
his 30 seconds of her shivering. It's like, no, you just ruined the whatever.
Yeah, and it's like we all
cadence to the show. It's like, I don't care. Yeah,
the moment she like discovered those burned sheep 3 episodes ago, we all know that where that was going. We didn't need these like build up to it, like just like So that was the thing. And then the third thing is what we discussed last week, in the sense that how is Aemon going to plan to leave King's Landing when he just went and saw across the water there are 3 dragons now that are ready to pounce. He cannot leave King's Landing.
Right.
So when he's talking to Helena, like, we need to ride together and go to Harrenhal, it's like, you could by all means try and get Helena to join you, but you cannot be talking about leaving King's Landing because that is completely illogical.
It's illogical. And it's why I like the idea of smuggling Aemon out, Aegon out. Like, that makes sense because of what's going to happen. He can't be there.
Yep.
No one can be there, right? So it's like, oh, shoot. We kind of wrote ourselves into a corner here. By moving the pieces around like we did, we need to have excuses for people to leave this city, the main players. And when you know what's going to happen, you realize how manufactured it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you didn't read the books, you'd be like, oh, that's not that weird. But when you read the books, you're like, nah, that's dumb. I know why you're doing this, because you guys wrote yourselves into a corner and you got to move your parts around and you got to jam it into the last episode. Yes, that bothered me.
Yeah, and it's like if Aemon had come to Helena and been like, I want you to ride with me, and at the moment, as things stand, we have no shot against that many dragons. So we're going to abandon King's Landing and then find our time to strike back. But no, it was like, we're going to get defend and fight and blah, blah. And we're going to go to Harrenhal, though, to do that. It's like, no, if that's the cause of action, then you're staying here because you know the attack is coming.
Right, exactly. There were a lot of the weird things. I mean, all right, let's go to some of the good stuff first, right?
Yeah, that was my last.
Once again, the filming, everything's great. The acting's fantastic. The scenes with Aemon, with Helena, the 2 scenes he had where he's yelling at her, phenomenal. And the scene, Helena's best scene of the whole series, when they're talking on the balcony there, and she tells Aemon what she sees.
And the best part was he's like, I could take your head for that or something like that. And she goes, wouldn't change a thing or whatever. Like, I was like, oh,
awesome.
And he just sulked away. Like,
oh, it was so perfect. And then the whole thing, and again, Damon's visions, which I actually didn't like. By the way, they took a lot of that footage, including the actor who plays the 3-eyed crow, Brendan Rivers. They took it from the Hedge Knight. So they actually took, because it's coming out next year. Yeah. That's the palate cleanser between. I thought that was kind of cute. I don't love how they're always trying to connect us to Game of Thrones. It bugs me a little bit, but it was a cool scene. Ties to what we just heard Helena say. I liked a lot of that stuff. That was great. The conversation between Rhaenyra and Allison.
Well, first off, I called it. I told you.
You did. I was going to say credit.
Yeah,
You said.
Yeah.
I don't. Did we do that on camera or was that afterwards?
Yeah, we did that on camera. I was like, we're gonna tell a spoiler here. There. Here's my theory.
Is she going to be the one that? Is she going to be the one that conspires to do it? So, but what bothered me about that is she's now going to go back and make it work out. Again, talk about a cliffhanger. In 2 years, we'll see how she does that. But how does that work with Aegon being gone? And also,
that's the thing, right? She's gonna go back, and like the whole thing that she agreed upon is gonna look like a farce because like Rhaenyra's gonna show up and be like, "Well, now he's gone. You lied to me again." Like,
right? Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what they're going for, but it makes Aemond's decision to leave even weirder. I don't know. It's bizarre. But so they tried dovetailing the season with the two women, the two queens, in the beginning of the season and the end. How different those conversations are, where basically Alicent now is like, "I was wrong," to the point where she gives up Aegon. She basically says,
and that's
which is crazy. Like, and as soon as she does, the acting, Emma Darcy, the fact she breaks for a split second, she's being all tough and mad, and when she gives up her son, you see her for the first time, she sheds a tear. She's like, "I can't believe." She realized Alicent's telling the truth, and oh my God, that's nasty.
And I'll tell you what, I thought that scene was fantastic from like a script perspective, how they like kept, like, we knew if you take like from the beginning to where it ended, the way that they kind of like kept taking it an inch further and an inch further. Like first she's like, "Fine, go," and then she was like, "Well, to do that we need to do this," and then it's like, "Okay," and then like, "What about it?" And then like I love when Rhaenyra's like, "You can't just get the price you want," like you, or whatever it is she said. Like it was just so fantastically well written, like that, how that dialogue transpired was so good.
It was, and everything about it was great. But the problem is, I think I read this quote. Someone said the showrunners thought that conversation was a good enough ending to the season. And again, from a writing and acting standpoint, of course, it's fantastic. But we didn't really learn anything too new in that we already started. Again, you suspected it. We didn't really learn anything new, and there's no resolution to it is the problem. It doesn't land properly because you don't see Alicent, who just gave up her whole life. We don't see her lose anything yet. You know what I mean? Rhaenyra, she doesn't win anything. I lost you for a second. We good?
No, here we go. There we go.
All right. Yeah. So you don't see, no one wins or gains anything in that. So it's just words. And again, you don't get the full emotional impact of it. Great actresses, absolutely. However, you just don't, it doesn't land properly until you see something happen. And we don't get that. It just added to that problem of this. That was a bad spot to end. It really was.
Yeah. I mean, and I liked the montage. Like, I thought it was really cool. But then, like, I actually thought, like, okay, now the battle's going to happen or something. And then when it ended, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. But another one. Okay. So we have Kristen Cole talking with Sir Gawain.
Oh, that was also another good scene. Yeah.
It was dope. But like, it was so incongruous. It was like, all of a sudden Gawain's ticked. And like, and like, they have this great discussion about, that's it. We're going to be dust under the dragons. It doesn't matter. We're all going to die. But that's the only scene with them. Like, you know, there's no resolution. It sounded like that's a great speech before a battle that never happened. Yeah. You have this great Alan. Alan finally has it out with his horrible absentee father.
That also, I forgot that was excellent
great
as well.
Scene. Killer scene.
Yeah.
No resolution. None. Another Quarrel is just looking stoic. There was so many great, well-acted scenes, huge character moments, but there was no resolution to any of them. And they were all just these little islands. You know, and it was just, it's weird. It doesn't quite land because we didn't have the impact of seeing the results of those conversations. So I just thought it was all weird. So many parts of it.
Yeah. Wait, just play it. Before Alan, what was the one we mentioned real quick? It was, what scene was it?
Gawain and...
Yes. Okay. What I'm curious about, though, with that, so we've seen this kind of major arc with Kristen. So at the beginning, especially of this season, people despised Kristen Cole. And like, I mean, he was getting like Joffrey level hate. The actor was.
Yeah.
And now when you see him just broken, I'm curious to know if like people have like sympathy or anything for him now. Cause I mean, like, especially when he's like that moment when he was like, when he talked about dying, he's like, I actually think it'll be a relief. And it's just like,
exactly.
Oh man.
I don't know if they're trying to make us like him more. I don't think so. I think it's just like how all the characters there are kind of gray in general. I feel like the hate for him was a little much. I do like that Gawain was like, "This is your fault. Like you did this. You put the crown on that." Like I think that's really cool. I do want to think that although we had that great, amazing episode 4, and he sees the results of the dragons, we haven't really seen him much since
No,
then.
yeah.
So like again, is he just out in the woods like melancholy, like bummed out? I feel like I don't know how earned that is for him.
Do you watch or listen to the official podcast?
Oh no, not the podcast. No.
Okay, so they actually had the end of the episode 1, and then today they released a new one where it was like the entire season finale or review. And they had Fabian Frankel, who is the actor that plays Kristen Cole. And it was interesting to hear him talk about. He's like, I think what people forget is that obviously last season Cole had this affair with Rhaenyra, and then he got puppy dog and was like, run away with me and we'll sell fruit on the side of the road or whatever it was. And like obviously that's like hilarious to think about because she's like, I'm the queen, bitch. Like I can't just leave. Yeah. And then from there, like he's essentially like he's Kingsguard. He's broken his oath. And so he talks about this, like, you got to understand, like, there is some level of like the mental state he's in of like, he wanted to go after what he did. Like he couldn't live with it. And then he has essentially been forced. And that was when Rhaenyra was the younger actress. She's like, he has essentially been forced to stay in that castle for years, living with that. And it's just like made him worse and worse and worse. And I was like, I kind of feel that, like, and again, like, not that it excuses him being a terrible person, some of the things he did, but like, you can understand a little bit of like why a person would kind of come to the decisions and conclusions that he made. But it was an interesting interview, I thought. And that's the thing too. Like, I think even in like the official podcast, which is made by HBO or Max, I guess I should say, like, they obviously aren't going to be like, that was a disappointing finale because it's their own product. But like, you could just tell, like, just by the way they framed the conversation, like, the argument is that if you look at it as a finale, it's disappointing. But if you think about this in 4 years, or no, I guess this would be done in 4 years. If you think about this, if you're going to rewatch this in 6 seasons or something, or 6 years, and you just kind of binge your way through, and there is kind of no season finales, it's just a great episode along the path. And it is. And it's like, that's the way to look at it. Especially too, when you look at it like character to character, like I kind of like, and again, I'll also say it did not ruin the season for me. Like I still think season 2 was great. And
that's why I guess it surprised me when you said you thought it was the weakest one, because I thought it was actually a pretty strong episode. Like I thought it was a good episode. When you're watching the whole thing, if you were just to binge it, I think it would be one of the better episodes. I thought it was really
and I intend, and I actually may do it tonight, rewatch it, because I always rewatch it. I imagine on my rewatch, knowing that it's going to come, it's kind of like the books, right? Everyone says they hate book 4 because you get no Jon Snow, you get no Tyrion, you get no Daenerys. And everyone's like, I got all these new characters with the Greyjoys, and then I get a lot of Brienne and things like that. And they're like, it's so boring, and I hate it because I don't get the good stuff. It is on the first read through. I've read the books a few times, which I think you may have as well. When you know what book 4 is, I love book 4. Like,
book 4 is amazing.
It's not as good as book 3, obviously, but I love book 4. Like, I like this stuff going on in Dorne. I hate the Greyjoys, but that's because I hate the Greyjoys.
I like the Greyjoys. I enjoy
it's an interesting story. I just hate the Greyjoys.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And for me, but you know what? That's interesting because that one's where it kind of settles down, right? The war. It's not about the wars, but the little folk, right? It's the Feast for Crows, the aftermath of this horrible war on everything. Right. And I think from a writing standpoint, I think it's one of George's best books. Like, it absolutely is fantastic. It's just unfortunate that it's split because
and kind of similarly in this, if you remember, like, George wrote whatever year it was he finished book 3. It took him like, how many years was it that till book? Because I obviously read the books when all 5 were out.
I think it was only like 5 years. It wasn't that much. It was only like 5 years.
Yes, but then it was 5 years, but then it was like 11 years till book 5 came out or something like that. Like, so you essentially went a decade, let's just say, without like
Jon Snow,
Tyrion, Daenerys, which are like the 3 biggest characters. And I think that obviously also rubs people the wrong way. But again, when you get to read them in sequential order and you know what to expect in book 4, like, it's great. So I do agree. Like, I think on rewatch I like it better. And then, yes, in the binge format, it plays well as another fine
I
episode.
think that's right.
along the way.
Again, which is why I stick with that. I think it was a great episode, just a bad finale, and it's a bad decisions were made in terms of how to end it. And I also think it was also awkward. I can't say it was great. I mean, it was a great episode. They're all great. But there were a couple other little things, not to completely nitpick. I don't know who the director is, but just weird decisions. Like it opens up with Tywin Lannister and it's goofy and it's funny and he's, it's comedic relief. And then you cut to Aemond, who just burned a town and everyone alive, but you see it off camera. Like you don't, I'm like, where is he? What is that? Oh, that's supposed to be,
Well, that's the thing too. Like when they showed that, it was Sharp Point.
Sharp Point, yeah.
And it's just like they showed him burn. I'm like, guys, we don't know where that is.
No,
like,
there's no context. Yeah.
For a second there, I was like, is that Storm's End? Because Storm's End is similarly like at the edge of like a peninsula on like a wall with like a wall. It's like, and then that tower's like that looks like Storm's End. And then only later when they're like, and Aemond burned Sharp Point, and I was like, oh, okay, Sharp Point.
But I wasn't even sure if it was like I wasn't even sure he did it, or is he the aftermath of a different dragon did it? Is he watching it?
I also didn't know, like, was there an army there that was like pillaging, or was it just him? Like, I have no idea.
That was just badly done. I remember thinking during the scene, I was like, oh, this is weird. And then when you find out what happened, like, oh, I was thinking immediately afterwards, like, oh, that's dumb. They need to show him doing that, or they need to give us some lead up to what was going on. It was just weird. It was just weird. Stuff like that. But I still, we're not even talking about the dragon seeds. I mean, we had a lot more of them.
I loved. So,
yes.
Ulf in earlier episodes, I'm like, okay, he's fine. This is the Ulf I wanted. And like when he was there at the table with his feet on the table,
immediately hate him.
There we go.
Kind of character until then.
Yes.
And exactly. And we were worried about that. Remember, we were thinking, like, we don't really see it. Are they playing him off sympathetically? Nah, he was a jerk. And I love that fact that Adam is clearly like, he's still the guy he says he is. He's loyal. He's just like sneering at him. And Ulf was a jerk. I loved that at the next the dinner scene. He's like, "Can we get more of these little birds?" Like he's just like, it's like I was meant to be a king. Like I belong here. And right.
It's just like
she's like a knight should conduct themselves in the bed. He's like, "Oh, you better knight me then." It was cringe. That whole scene was cringe. And I thought it was cool they play Hugh as the kind of straight guy there. But that was well done. Like they needed that character development. We needed to see that Ulf, right? Yeah. And it was like, great. But he doesn't do anything. We still him in flight. We haven't seen anything other than, okay, he's just completely out of his element, kind of a bumbling idiot, and now he's a jerk. That's what we got. That was this entire arc. So it's like it's not a good place to end. I don't know. It's just stuff like that. It's like it was really well done, and then
another scene that was really good. So Jace is obviously still upset, and I would even say he's a bit of a pouty bitch.
Yes.
But when Bela is just like, he's like, and everyone's gonna think I'm a bastard. She's like, and you think you're the first unnoble born man of power or something like that. And she's just like laying it out for him. And she's like, grow up, get up, and do something about it. I was like,
exactly.
Dude, she's been a badass this entire season.
Yeah, she's been awesome. Yeah. What else? I forgot. Do you see the Green Man? There was a Green Man.
Yes. And I didn't know if was that meant to be like a Daemon hallucination, or is that just like a quick tease for us?
I think it was there. I think it was.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing because my reaction was like, I thought we were gonna see him. Like it was a little quick thing. Oh, is she gonna have him talk to a Green Man? No, that was all we got. But it clearly was. He had the antlers and everything. So that was
and not only that, I think too with that the part of that is that we got the most up close look at the Isle of Faces when Rhaenyra and Adam came flying. First off, like you got some sick shots of Harrenhal from all the angles. Like, that part was sick. Like seeing Harrenhal and it's like full.
Yeah,
was sick.
Cool.
And then
the stairs went up forever. Like that was awesome. Yeah.
And then you see like pretty close up of like the Isle of Faces. So I think
I can watch again. I guess I didn't really catch that very good.
Yeah, I mean it's got some like kind of crazy trees on it, and I mean maybe if I pause it, I don't know if you see much more detail, but like that is the best shot we've seen of.
I mean, if we're talking scale though, it should be like 50 miles into the lake. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really far. It's a huge lake.
yeah, it is the
Um,
biggest lake, but I thought that was cool. And then
that,
yeah,
that
and then you get the Green Man, who would be coming from the Isle of Faces.
I'm also a little perplexed that Adam and Alan, I feel like, should be legitimized. Like that, we should see that. We haven't seen enough of the characters, honestly. Like
Yeah.
they're both being pushed to the forefront, but I feel like there still hasn't been enough resolution.
I'm also waiting. I'm curious as to when they're gonna have Corlys admit that they're his sons, because even again to Rhaenyra, he was
Right.
just like, "Oh, he's just been a good man of service, like nothing
And I
to."
feel like from a writing standpoint, it would have made sense for him to do it immediately.
Yeah,
When we had someone claim a dragon, all right, he's mine. He's mine. You can't say
yeah.
he's a bastard, like that. But they're not doing that, and I feel like
Especially
that
too,
should be
like he had that whole speech about like he's renamed his boat because it's all about
right.
for her. So he's alluding to all the sacrifices he's had to make for
Right.
Rhaenyra, right? It's his daughter, his son, now his wife, and it's like, okay, I've sacrificed so much. You owe me this to legitimize these guys so they can be my true heirs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a curious situation that they chose not to do that.
I think so too. And again, I don't know if it's just to play with the whole dragon seed thing that they're all bastards. But then, of course, if you have Reyna now has a dragon, so clearly you can be like, I don't know. It didn't make any sense. And they did confirm Nettles is cut, and obviously that she's taking the place. We know that.
Yeah. And I just want to double down again the fact that the scene where Adam gave it to Corlys was fantastic.
Oh, it was
like
great. Alan, that was great. And that's it. If you watch the after the episode part, the actor said he just got to let loose. He's like, I just let it flow, and it came out really great. So that was cool. Yeah. Corlys has never had anyone talk to him like that. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
So again, lots of great moments in it. I like, in retrospect, the whole Harrenhal storyline. Yes, it was dragged out, but I kind of like how it ends up being resolved, because Daemon really should not really give a crap about Rhaenyra. If you really think about it, he was right. Like, I guess they needed to explain that for why he is so devoted, and why later actions he will take, he basically concedes like, no, what we do doesn't kind of matters, right? There's a bigger thing out there. We're just playing a part. I have a part to play. I like that. It makes sense for his character. It just took a long time to get there.
Yeah. Do you think that they should have then executed Alfred Broom?
Yes. Yeah, he just walks away. I thought that was going to happen. I thought he was going to just grab him right then and be like, because, it would have made sense. It also would have helped out Simon, who was kind of like, quick, something going on. There needs to be an explanation for that. So I thought
we also gotta give a round of applause. Simon is awesome. Like,
awesome.
I love awesome. Like when they have that moment, he's like in the back, like, oh yeah.
Yes. He was so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that whole scene was actually pretty cool. But I thought for sure Broom was toast. Like,
yeah.
He just kind of runs away at the end. I thought that was interesting. So I don't know. Again, to kind of sum up my thoughts, I thought it was a good episode, but I'm scratching my head a little bit. I can't believe they thought it was going to go over well to end it right there. The montage at the end was cool, but I remember thinking, I'm like, they better not end this. Oh, they better not be ending this. And then when it went to black, I'm like, you guys, how did you let that slide? Like, I feel like they knew they're like, this isn't going to go over well. I don't know.
Yeah. I have a question for you. So what is the award for TV's called? Is that an Emmy?
Yeah.
So Emmy for Best Actress, Emma Darcy or Olivia Cooke? Who do you got?
Well, Emma Darcy identifies with a they, so I don't know.
Oh, that's true. So I
don't how that works.
I don't know how that works either.
I'll say this: Emma Darcy. Every time they act, I am floored by how good they are. And then if you see all these actors, you ever watch those clips of them, just like you find them when you're scrolling on Instagram with them just talking, they're all great. They're all just like, wow, how do you guys turn that on? Even their accents, they have sort of a middle neutral British accent in the show. Some of them have very heavy accents from wherever they're from. But Emma's nuts. Like, I can't believe, it absolutely wins all the awards for me.
Okay, so I do think as well, Emma is the better actress. I don't know how we need, but
actor is generally.
Yeah, and But I will say, if the award, it's for a year, it's every year. So the award would be for season 2. I would give it to Olivia Cook only for the sense that just the way the events and the direction of the season, she got to have a larger range
Oh, perfect word of
of
emotions and
emotions
Yep.
and developments and things like
Yep.
that to like show her whole like repertoire.
Yes.
And for
Yes.
that alone, I would give her the edge here. Now,
True.
I think where this can go in the future, like Emma Darcy's going to get all
Right.
of those opportunities to shine as well. But since the award is for this year,
Right.
that is why I give it
Yeah,
to
because
her.
Rhaenyra is a little one note. She'll on the behind the scene, like when she's not in front of everybody, she's a little bit more of a sensitive person, when she's with her son. But in general, no, I mean, like you're right. She's kind of a one trick pony. It's sort of a lot of the same.
Yeah, it's like look
Whiny,
upset and menacing at the same time.
Right, exactly. But yeah, Olivia Cook again, 1A and 1B. Who cares?
Yeah.
They're both everyone in the show is fantastic. There's no
Yeah.
actor that I've been like disappointed with.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about it. Like, Laurie has also someone that I think
Yeah.
is a very like he would be like a perfect like best supporting actor candidate. Like, and I loved again his scenes with Aegon, like convincing him like, yo, we've got to bounce.
Right.
Like it was all good
And
stuff.
again, Aegon, I would have said, the actor was that Tom Carney. I can't remember
Tom
his name.
Carney.
Yeah, he same thing. He's got sort of I thought he was good in season 1. We didn't have a lot with these characters season 1. Don't forget, we had so many little kid versions of them, right? But then this season, for the first half of the season, he's just annoying. He's just annoying. He's a kid. But then you see his range. You see that happen in episode 4, and like, wow, this kid can act. Like it's funny when you give them something else to chew on, how great they are. And I always know the actor who plays Aemon. I've seen him in lots of things. He's fantastic in general.
Yo, is he been in other? I actually have never recognized him before.
Oh yeah, do you ever watch The Last Kingdom? He was in several seasons of The Last Kingdom. He's great.
Okay.
But and he's such he's a cool character. My wife said afterwards, like, Aemon is the coolest look. He's such a cool character. I'm like, yeah, he is. He's an awesome character.
Yeah, I mean, I think clearly both him and Daemon are both like such great characters on each side to have.
Exactly, both in that Dark Prince. It's kind of neat. So, yeah, I guess my biggest thing I'm going to say for all this, I can't believe how good the acting is. Season 1, the writing was incredible. Obviously, Paddy Considine was ludicrously good, and I didn't like him at first. I'm like, I don't like him in this role. He's kind of a comedic actor, but man, by the end of that first season, I was like, wow, what are we doing here?
Since you brought him up and now this season's over, I will also say in the previous episode where they had the last scene of him holding the crown and being like, do you still want it? And then him being in the full decay, I thought was awesome.
It was so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that. I mean, everyone's fantastic in it. And that's what's going to bring people back. I think, they have time to chew more scenery than they did in Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones were also great actors, but I don't think they had a lot of good stuff to work with in many cases, but can't say that about this show. No way. And I mean, yes, I guess the biggest gripe people have against it is it's slow. And there were some times where we're wasting time and it could be moving on. We want more dragons fighting. But what we get in the return of that, instead of that, is just incredible acting and writing. And I'm okay with it as long as it's not the season finale. You got to have a payoff.
Yeah, and I mean, like people will say it's slow, but like in that slowness is the intrigue and the dialogue is just phenomenal. So,
yes, exactly. So, yeah.
All right. That's kind of all I had. I think, you and I are essentially on the same page here with the finale, but otherwise, Mike,
I want to.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we could do this again next year with Dunk and Egg.
Oh, we're doing this next year with Dunk and Egg. Yeah. I will say, I'm going to rewatch season 1, like starting tonight. Of House of the Dragon. I'm excited to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Seeing what I see now. Yeah. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, man, that sucks. 2 years. We'll have Dunk and Egg next year. I'm excited.
Do we know how many episodes Dunk and Egg will be?
I don't know if we know that. I mean, they better not drag it out because if they're just doing one season per book, it should be like 3 episodes.
You did see that like 7-second trailer though. I sent it to you.
I did. It was barely anything in it, but it's cool what we did get. And then they are working on Aegon the Conqueror. It's funny they're going back in time, further back, but they want to do Aegon the Conqueror as a looks like
I will say, and I know like they released like there are 7 things in production, 3 are live action, 3 are animated, all of which I would absolutely watch One thing I do hope they do, though, as I would love to see Robert's Rebellion, and
Oh.
starting from like everything before, like with the attorney at Harrenhal and all of that. Like, oh, it'd be
100%.
sick.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was thinking this as I was watching it, like they could have had, I mean, Game of Thrones is the money books, that's what everyone reads, but like they could have done this in theory, like chronologically, jumping ahead every 100 years, 50 years, whatever, 20 years, and it would have all made sense. It would have been great.
Yeah.
So, Robert's Rebellion would be my favorite thing to watch, honestly.
Yeah. Plus, like, I think everyone always thinks of Rob Baratheon and like what we saw him in the show, which is like older, fatter, like lazy, drunk.
He's a badass.
But like, he is a badass, and like it would be sick to see him in like young form, like just wrecking shit.
Yeah, the fight at the Trident, man, come on, it would be like unbelievable,
especially like when he hits him in the chest and the rubies go flying. Like that would be such a sick.
And you get to know Rhaegar, it'd be great.
Yeah,
maybe we will get that. That would be pretty sick. I'd be all for that.
Yeah. Anyways, Mike, I want to say thanks for joining me with me every week, and it's been awesome.
Oh, it was awesome, man. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if the camera's on or not. We're going to be talking about this all the time.
Oh, yeah. So. Oh, yeah. I mean, and I'm interested, like, there are a lot of people theorizing that Winds of Winter is not too far off, we'll just say. Who knows when exactly?
I heard that a decade ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we shall see.
Well, that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different, I don't know how we're going to do that one, but that's
yeah.
I might have to just quit Lunch Money Comics. You guys see no videos for like 3 months?
Oh, dude, there's no doubt in my mind. And here's what I will do. When that book comes out, I'll probably not watch any show unless like besides like sports or something like that. Yeah. And I will just spend the time I would watching shows reading the books. And I will read book 6. And then what I'll do is I'll go back and I will read 1 to 6.
There you go.
Yeah.
Too bad they're so damn long, man. It just takes up so much time, but absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that if that's true.
Yeah. Right on. All right, everyone. Thanks for hanging with us this season, and let us know what you thought of the finale, the season as a whole. Love to hear what anyone thinks. But otherwise, we will catch you on the next one. Peace out.